Hey everybody, it's Lisa Quilting in the Valley, and we are going to start quilting our Quilting 101 quilt. So what I have on here, I have the lights turned off on my machine so that you can see, but I have a stitch in the ditch foot on my machine, and it has this little blade right here, and that little blade is designed to run through the seam. We'll run right through that seam. And then this is a Bernina, of course. I have my dual feed down. That's how I'm getting away with not using a walking foot. If you don't have a machine with a dual feed, you're going to want to invest in a walking foot so that you can get the same kind of effect that I'm getting here. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start about in the middle of my quilt. And I'm not bringing my bobbin thread up. Let me see here. Oh yes, I did. Shoot. So I'm bringing my bobbin thread up with my tweezers. And the reason I'm doing that is so that I don't have a mess underneath when I'm done. There it is. There it is. Okay. I have a different color thread in the bobbin than I do in the top. Okay, so I brought my thread up so that I don't have a knot underneath. And now I am simply going to, again, I started about in the middle of the quilt, inside the borders, and I am just gonna run that blade right through. And I'm gonna adjust my quilt very frequently so that nothing gets unbasted and it doesn't get pulled out of whack. Using that blade. Some of you may want to use gloves. Some of you may want to use a quilting hoop that helps you grasp your fabric. I don't like those things myself. I'm going to roll this side over here so that it clears the inside of my throat space. That'll make it a little easier. You can see I'm kind of just running right along there in that seam. So I'm going to do that for the intersections of all of the squares on the center of my quilt, as well as the intersection of my two border strips on the outside of the quilt, and that is going to be my quilting. That keeps everything from shifting around. Most batting, you want to make sure that your quilting is no more than, say, a palm's width apart so that it holds up in the washing machine. And I'm almost to the other end. Of course, since I have my Bernina, that dual feed is helping me pull through all these layers so that I have nice, even stitching. And I'm going to go right to the end again. Nah, I'm not going to do that. I was going to do that, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do I'm going to do a knot stitch. And call her a day. Okay, here we go. So now I've got that seam done all the way through the middle. The reason I did it in the middle was so that I don't have a bubble inside. If I started from the outside and went in, I might end up with a bubble in the middle. So if I start in the middle and I work my way out, I won't have a bubble. So I'm going to do the exact same thing now. I'm just going one step out. And I think I'll just do a tie off here too. And it helps to do this if your seams line up. If your seams don't line up, obviously you're going to have trouble staying in the seam. But if your seams do line up, this should be very easy to do. Here's an intersection that isn't perfect, so I'll just fudge that one. But this foot is an easy way to do this technique. Again, if you don't have a dual feed on your machine, there are many machines that do. Differential feed, IDT feed, dual feed, a lot of different names for them. If your machine does not have that, you're going to want to use a walking foot instead, because that'll help pull all of those top layers through at the same speed as the bottom layers. Okay. So you guys get the idea. You're not going to want to have to watch me do this whole thing. This is what you're going to do to finish the quilting. Again, on all of those intersections of all of those seams. And there you go. We've got 2 seams done. I have 2 more to do over here, and then I'm going to do it this way, going crosswise. So let's finish that, and then we will show you how to trim this quilt down and put your binding on for the last video in this series. Okay, we'll see you next week. We'll do that video next week. That'll give you all week long to get this quilting done, and we'll show you how to do the binding next week. See you then. Thanks.